Hello people, I've got this neck here from the kit that Guitar Kit Fabric sent me. You may have seen my playlist with all the other videos in, it's linked below. You may also have seen the video already where I upgraded the fret markers, but now I'm going to change the headstock. Now this is something you can do with any guitar, it doesn't have to be a kit guitar. I've got this template that I made for when I make necks from scratch. It doesn't quite fit on this one, so I'm jiggling it around a bit, and what I can see is I need to add some extra wood to the headstock, which is totally fine. Basically, you can cut bits off, stick bits on this headstock, no problem, but ideally you want to keep the integrity of the core bit of the headstock there. So you really want this core part running through the neck up to the end of the headstock. And it doesn't necessarily matter if you're going to remove the holes from the headstock and drill new ones, as long as you're really securing your new wood with a good strong glue. I'm using Titebond Type 2 here. So it's a simple process. I've stuck the wood on, then I'm using some chisels and sandpaper, etc. to bring it back so it's level with the headstock that's already there. If, for example, I was going to be using a spray finish that was a thick colour, I wouldn't really worry about the fact that this wood doesn't match. But I'm using a staining finish. There's videos coming up on how to stain the guitar. So what I'm going to need to do is blend it all together. But first, let's mark out the shape. I'll get back to the blending in a minute. Now, because I want to have that wood blended finish over the top, it doesn't matter too much. And these woods don't quite match. I'm actually going to use some filler to really fill and flatten the gaps in before I sand it flat with my orbital sander. Then go with my bandsaw to cut the shape, my disc sander and my oscillating spindle sander to give it a bit more shape before going in with files, and then sandpaper to finish it off. Now, how on earth am I going to get it to look like one blended thing? Well, easy, I'm going to add a veneer to it. So I'm simply super gluing the veneer onto the top. Super glue or CA glue. You could also do this with the Titebond. I prefer doing it with the super glue, just because I'm a bit impatient and I wanted to get on with it all in one day. And you can see for my guitar headstock shape, I like one bit slightly raised. So what I'm doing is adding a second veneer on top of that to raise it, and a third veneer with a sort of grain that I like on top of that. So I have actually left it a day now to fully cure, but you can see the edges don't look that great. Well, that's fine, because I'm going to sand them nice and smooth using the same basically process that I used before to shape the headstock. And then I'm going to go back in with some thin veneer and add that around the edges, but just slightly out of sync. I'm going to cut those holes in the headstock as well. So because there's only a thin veneer over the top, I can simply go through it with my craft knife to make the rough hole, the rough shape that I want, working from both sides. I tend to go back and forth, trying to work on one hole at a time, and finally kneading it off with a reamer. You could do that with a drill bit as well. Doing it by hand is probably better than doing it in the drill. And then with the drill here, I've just got a countersunk bit just to slightly bevel those edges to help stop the laminate chipping off at all. Now back to those ugly sides, it's just a matter of putting the thin laminate on. Again, I'm using CA glue, a bit of tape to hold it in place, and I really want to make sure it dries really well, so I have actually left it overnight once I've done this. But while it's drying, I can just go back in with a few details. I'm using a file to make sure that this looks really neat, and when I come back to remove the tape, I can see the edges aren't quite what I want. They're nice and square here, so I'm just going to go over it lightly with some sandpaper just to really neaten those sides up and get it ready for staining. Now, I mentioned before this was a kit from Guitar Kit Fabric. I've got the series in the description to this video below of where I have unboxed the kit, dry fitted it, added some customizations like this headstock, and next in the series I'm going to be staining it, finishing it with true oil, reassembling it. There'll be some other little bits of customization on the way, so do check out that series. If you found this useful, please put a thumbs up, give a share and a sub, maybe even a super thanks, or become a member of my channel to see more. Support like that really helps me continue making these educational videos, which I hope will help you make really cool guitars. So do tag me on social medias if you make something inspired by something I've done. It's always good to see what other people are doing, and let's have a sneak peek of what this headstock looks like finished. Great, so until next time, happy strumming.